If you're going to do something like this, you've got to have a plan, and you've got to work backwards from that and figure out what it takes. And so at these meetings, we've been having experts like some of the people that are going to be speaking here today, like Fred and Andy, and they've got extensive knowledge, so listen to what they're telling you, and I can listen to people really well when I've had coffee. So I've incorporated all this stuff in these meetings. The gentleman that had the research farm at Meadow View, Virginia, and his name is Fred Hebard, and he's come to our meetings before. He and I have talked quite a bit, emailed each other, and so I crafted together a recovery action plan. And here's basically what it's about. It's about find surviving trees, number one. Collect seed, pollen, grass. Preserve the genetics, even from trees that may not have the best resistance. There may be some new pathogen or disease we don't know about now that comes up. So we need to save it. And I really like this stern look on Eddie's face. Where's Eddie at? Very good. And by the way, Eddie was voted last night as our new on our board, Ozark Chinquapin board, and congratulations to you. And Colton, while I'm talking about it, can you raise up your hand? We've got some new blood right here. Presentations. And so I like the stern look on your face right here. And that's a tree that he had on his property that we had pollinated, and went through a Herculean effort to make sure that those seed made. And we've got some growing in the plots. We looked at them yesterday. I want you to know. So all that work that you did paid off. We got trees over 20 feet tall growing right now, making nuts from the work that we did. Steve Churchill, Sean, and Chris, and all of us, and you. So cross-pollinating surviving trees. Inoculate the finished crosses with the blight. We are not going to have to do that anymore because of our newest member over here. He's going to explain to you some cutting-edge technology that is going to save thousands and thousands of hours, literally. And so last night, I hope I wasn't too rough with you last night. I'm like, we are going to do this. And so science and genetics and hypovirulence. Hypovirulence is actually Fred, can you explain that a little bit better than I can? What is hypovirulence?
Well, hypo means reduced virulence, and it's something that's caused by the fungus being infected by a virus that debilitates it.
Okay,
and the problem is that there are different strains of virus and different strains of fungus, and it appears that you have to pair them properly to get it to work.
But it does work. What it does, it will knock the chestnut blight back well enough where that tree will actually heal over, and it will die from old age, or it will die of drought, something else. So, raise public awareness and outreach, and boy, that one alone. Some of us in this room right here, we take it for granted, but we were talking to the board meeting last night. People like Steve Churchill and Chris White, Sean, y'all gone to county fairs and done presentations, and AJ has been good enough to make up trunks to help us get the word out. Information is absolutely powerful, and I mean it is powerful. You tell people about what we're trying to do. You don't need to convince them. Just tell them about what's going on. They'll jump on the bandwagon. And Kelly and Don are sitting right here, and they're musicians on our board. And me and some of the other folks here, we talk about the trees. They sing about it. They raised almost $3,000 doing a benefit concert. And I was just, if you'd see all that went behind that, you'd be very impressed. And so the work that they did, you got to see some of that yesterday. Okay, raise money for projects. That's another big one. Dedicate locations in and out of the blight range. Seed available to the public for reintroduction. And I put this picture on here. There was a funny one. We were making moose antlers and everything else. And I couldn't find that one. But you look at all these people. Some of these people traveled from Connecticut. We had one gentleman came from Washington State that's on our board. Southern Arkansas, Northern Louisiana, Virginia, Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma. And so that's what you're seeing in here. So we have our little breaks, talk to these people. We didn't get our name badges done, but talk to these people and find out what they're going on, and it will help you be more successful about getting the word out. A lot of people are doing this work, and these are former students I had. I used to teach school. Don't know if they learned anything or not. But by George, during the heat, during the winter when we had snow falling, they'd be out there and they'd be helping me cut trees. And I'm glad to say now, through membership support and grant money, I'm able to pay people now to help do this work. And so we cut a lot of trees. This entire hill with this picture is made, is cleared off, and y'all didn't see that. The hill that we saw the plots at were over here, and this entire hill is cleared off, and we have nothing but crosses of our best of the best growing on there. A lot of work. That's Mike Fiona, who could not be here today. He now is the nursery manager for the state nursery, and we're going to be giving away some door prizes today, and we're going to be doing a little drawing. And he told me he has 200 Ozark Chinquapin saplings growing at the nursery, and he is going to give away 20 to anybody that gets their name drawn today. And we're going to make this kind of interesting. All he needs is the month, and he needs your name and address, and either in March, April, May, whenever you want them, he's going to send 20 Ozark Chinquapins to you. So we're going to have a little drawing here a little bit later on. We'll do some trivia here. So preserving genetic diversities, and we're looking at sensitive to geographic origins. Establish a viable seed base, we've already done that. Resistance to the blight, and resistance is something where you have different levels of it. We're going to talk more about that later. Expand the number of plots, we've already done that. And 4 to 6 years seed available in plots, we're already there too. Been doing a lot of outreach with school groups doing plots. That's what the nuts look like. And you talk about roasting chestnuts on open fire. That's what you're talking about. And a lot of work right here. This is back before the days of lift buckets. We're doing some cross-pollination there. So what have we learned? Laboratory and field discoveries. Well, this is the blight spread. AJ is an architect of this map, showing the blight spread to where we have native populations, Ozark Chinquapin. We actually had them in Virginia too. We did the DNA test on it and found out that as well. A lot of discoveries made. We're smiling real big right here. This is a 2-year-old Ozark Chinquapin here, and a taller one right behind us. You can't see the leaves very well. Produced pollen the 2nd year. We never knew that would happen. And some of them will make nuts the 3rd year. I mean, not a big crop, but we didn't know they didn't even do it. By the time they hit the 5th year, you're looking at larger crops of nuts. We didn't know all this. This one is a picture from Mark Dunham from Cherokee Nation. And you want to tell us about what your title is over in the Cherokee Nation?
I'm a natural resource specialist.
Okay, very good. It's a fancy title for someone that goes in and tries to save rare and endangered species. And I know for a fact this guy gets on his hands and knees and pulls out, what is that grass?
Bermuda grass.
Bermuda grass.
Out of river canes.
Yeah, and so that's the kind of boots on the ground stuff you've got to do to save a species or to get it to come back or get them to go. And he understood. Maybe in an area may not be best suited for it, but he did that. And so this is from our 2012 meeting at West Plains, Missouri. And Angie cooked chili for all of us down there that day too. And so that was really good. He came over. I've been working with Cherokee Nation for probably 8 years, I'd say, or more. And so I'm very honored to have you here today. So this is pollination work, and it took us a lot. A lot of y'all here in this room, it took us 3 years to figure out how to actually do these, and it's not the same as American chestnut. But we did not give up. Here's a 3-year-old tree, and I got a good highlight or profile of that one. This is plot number 2, and I put that one in 2007. That's on Pioneer Forest land. And Terry couldn't be here today with us. He had something he had to go, but he was at our board meeting last night. And so Pioneer Forest has been a real big partner. And they make a lot more nuts than what we ever thought possible if you have good pollination. And here's Shane. Here's a seedling that came up, and there's a real large tree right behind us right here. It's kind of a double fork on that one. And Shane, how big that tree is? Still I still see sucker sprouts and branches on it. How big is that tree? Do you remember on the base of it?
The main trunk was 21, but now some of the stump sprouts are up to 5 already.
Okay. If I remember right, it seemed like that, if we pulled a tape, it seemed like that's about 23 or 24 inches around that tree.
That one was 20.
I mean, I'm sorry, DBH?
21 DBH,
Yeah, okay, very good.
Not
very
too
large trees here. Heavily blighted forest, by the way. And so some of these trees have been hanging on with the blight for like a decade. I mean, it's just incredible. Well, we learned if you're going to plant trees, you better put a grow tube around them or it will be a goner. And here's some of the protein analysis. White oak, scarlet oak, American chestnut. The American Chestnut Foundation, I don't know why they don't publish what we have on the Ozark Chinquapin. I don't know. You know, Andy, any reason why that might be? It's about double what American chestnut is. So we have a lot of things going on with them. But I'm going to tell you this much. It doesn't matter if you have apples or anything else. If you have a real hard scramble here where there's not much rain, you'll have a greater concentration. And we know that the Ozark Chinquapin literally melts nutrients from the rocks. And it's off the chart in magnesium, a lot of these trace minerals. So you take like a white oak, which around here is the main nut crop wildlife goes after, but it's not a consistent one. And the Ozark Chinquapin is easily triple that amount. And then you look at your carbohydrates, which is your sugars, your starches, and beats the white oak too, and the fats, off the chart on fats too. It is the preferred wildlife food. Don't want to put you in a coma, but they've done DNA work, and this is from a study back in 1999. It was published in 2000. And this was done with agencies in Europe and in the Orient, as well as here in America. And to their surprise, they found out that the Ozark Chinquapin had a greater DNA range. It appeared to be a much older species than the more common, widespread American chestnut. And they actually, assigned a number to it. And nobody was talking about that. And so we're up to 4 DNA studies now, thanks to Joey Shaw. And he actually did a new one that was a different way of registering the DNA. And they used to think that the Ozark Chinquapin was a spur from the Allegheny. Well, in this DNA test, they found out D is denta for the American chestnut, P is pumila. So they found out that the Allegheny Chinquapin is more closely related to the American chestnut than either one of them are to the Ozark. And so in between you have the M, which is kind of a mix between foreign chestnuts or Chinquapins and the American or the Allegheny. And here all the way over by itself is the Ozark, more diverse, more unique, and it's the only one that had 4 capital T's in the DNA pattern. So anytime they do a DNA test, that 4 capital T's pops out. And so they're thinking now this backbone may have the Ozark here and everything came from it, as opposed to being a separate group here. And so a lot of accomplishments, established a website, and we had over 53,000 hits. We put keeping records, and I know I personally answered over 6,000 emails. And so we're talking about Tim Smith last night taking that over. It's just a lot of work. New surviving trees discovered. We're up to exactly 40 as I speak right now. Genetic diversity saved. We've distributed over 1,600 seed to agencies and to people. I think we sent them out to about 34 states, several countries overseas. Important contacts and partnerships made. Interpretive programs, I first started doing those in 2001. Outdoor programs at amphitheaters at the state park. Established a database of trees, and Asma, if you care to raise your hand up, she's been working on a lot of that stuff for us. News media, attention, magazines and articles written. I've got one from the Rural Missouri Electric Co-op, and I know when I get back home I'm going to have bukus of emails to read and answer. Established test plots, successful cross-pollination for the first time in 2010, and new F1 strains of 100% pure Ozark Chinquapin created. So we've got a lot of stuff that's happened. 80-acre research farm. I know that this is the home of the elk comeback here in Carter County, but there's another comeback that's going to be more widespread, and it's going on right now. And all of you sitting here are a part of it, and it is something we can all be proud of, and it's taking place right now. First seed from research test plots in 2011, and first seed harvested from crosses in 2014. And it took us 3 years to create that one tree, but we figured it out how to do it. And so we had real bad drought in 2012, and it was we had higher drought and lower moisture index than even the Rocky Mountains. And all of us that work with fire prevention, wildfire fighting, we were all on edge waiting. We just knew we were going to be called anytime for it. And it was very bad. Trees were dying from it. The year after this, 2013, you could see brown on all the hillsides from dead trees. I've never seen such a kill-off that I can remember. And it was the worst drought we had, the driest condition in 5 decades. So how did the Ozark Chinquapins do during all that? Well, we had newly planted trees on piss plots, and so some of them are just like, run, Forrest, run, get out of here. It's bad. And so this is the tree y'all saw yesterday, and in the shade of this thing, the temperature was 121 degrees on the shaded side of that tree. In the woods, it was 103 degrees, right where we were standing at yesterday, when we first got to the top of the hill. And that particular tree now, though, is a lot larger, and I've collected over 200 nuts. That's been the most. We had that hailstorm. And this tree, if it hadn't been for that hailstorm, would have easily produced probably, I know it's hard to imagine, 300 or 400 nuts. Real good production. So there's an old picture of where we were at yesterday. And that's, I think, a 2-year-old. You can see a lot of them coming out of the tops of these tubes. Some of them grew 7 or 8 feet in 2 years. And so this is the hypovirulence. So we've been doing a lot of work on this. And as Fred was saying, this will knock back the blight if it's managed correctly. And so we've been doing work with that as well, too, and inoculating trees. And that is Shane. I don't know if you can see him way up in that tree. And he's up there doing some cross-pollination, scary stuff. I'm glad to say now, though, thanks to a lot of work from all of us in here, we had a utility company that actually donated the use of their lift buckets for pollination. And we also have grant money that helped us pay for a lot of the pollination work. Colton, raise your hand up. He's going to tell you a little bit later on about his experience in buckets and how it changed literally his life. And so, folks, we are changing, we're stimulating the economy and making more wildlife of what we've been doing. This is not a pipe dream. It's going on right now. And Angie has tolerated me. She deserves a halo over her head. All the members that send in letters, some of them don't do the email thing, some are older. Personally hand wrote a note back to each and every person, and this is just one day's mailing. And Tim Smith, I wish could be here, and the mailing guy, which taken me 70 hours of winter to mail these out. And one of those may have your name on it.
Yes, it does right there.
Oh, it does?
Oh, yeah.
I was just joking. Where do you see that? Good boy, I did that just for y'all. My wife says, how come you write so plain and neat on that? And you'll fill out something for me and I can't read your writing. I have no idea. And so along the way too, we have people that have gone above and beyond. And I see this. This is a good thing about me. All of y'all have like a compartmentalized thing that you do. But I travel everywhere and I see what everybody does. And to me, this is another thing that I've seen and experienced. So y'all are writing y'all's out on paper. And I'm showing you pictures of it. And so this is, raise your hand up over here. This is Shane. And I've known Shane for a while now at Roaring River State Park. And man, I tell you what, he has gotten in there. And Shane could find 110 reasons why he didn't have time to do this. And we'll be out in the woods trying to pollinate. He'll get calls from work, wanting to know about this or that. And he's like, I'll be back. It'll be about an hour and 10 minutes. And so, that kind of dedication and taking some time to do this has made a big difference. He and I were going out to pollinate a tree, and this has been years ago, and we got in an accident. We were lucky we were not killed. The guy didn't have insurance and all. And so we had to stop right where we were at. And so people like Shane and some of you others here in the room have gotten awards of pure Ozark Chinquapin wood, and we're giving some of those out today too. And Shane has been real instrumental in making a lot of this happen and done things. He's brought to the table talents and gifts like all of y'all have. Everybody has those. And all of us, even though we're from diverse backgrounds from some of us, everybody has the same thing in common, and it is you are all doers, every one of y'all in here. And don't forget that. So that's what it's all about. There's Ozark Chinquapin nuts, our native chestnut. And so the force we have today are different than what we used to have. However, if we all work together, we can make a difference. That is me with a bear cub I took out of the den. And I want you to know that the work we're doing right now will not only make more bears, but more deer, more squirrels, more wild turkeys, more of everything. And so this is something good that for wildlife to inherit, and also our children. And that's little Will, who is 15 years old now, and he knows more about Ozark Chinquapins than any kid I think living in WNG. Okay, and that's a photo from the state champion tree in Arkansas. And just, you know, when we find something like this, just real big smiles on everybody's face. So that concludes the program I got. You care to hit those lights back up?